Good morning, Gala Rinpoche. Can you hear us?
Oh, hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can definitely hear you.
Oh, okay. There is, I think, like a very strange sound is coming from your side, your end. Now it stopped. Yeah. Before it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we thought it was coming from you.
No, no, no. We are perfectly fine. When you started switch on and it started uh, making the noise.
Okay. I
But
think I.
fortunate now, right now everything is okay. Can you hear us clearly?
Yes, it's very clear.
Oh,
Very
okay.
good.
Good. Good. Good. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Hello. Hello.
Gala Rinpoche, do you want to start the video so we make sure that it works? The video feed?
Hello, yes, our technician is not here yet, so let me call him. He will be on the way.
Okay, thank you. Hi, good morning, Katrina. Can
Good
you hear us?
morning. Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Gala Rinpoche, the camera is a bit crooked. Hi, good morning, Katrina. Can
Good
you hear us?
morning. Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Gala Rinpoche. Gala Rinpoche, I don't know if you can adjust the camera. It's still a bit crooked.
Yes.
Okay, very nice.
Everything ready.
Good morning, Gen Rinpoche, Tashilde, and good morning, Katrina. Thank you
Good
for
morning.
translating for us this morning. And welcome to everyone online. Just a brief reminder, we'd like to show our appreciation to Geshe Tabke and Katrina with an offering on the Day of Miracles, which is the 7th. So if you'd like to join that offering, please look in the chat box for more information. And we'll begin this morning with some preliminary prayers. To the teacher endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one that's gone, the foe destroyer, the completely and fully awakened one, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, one gone to bliss, knower of the world's supreme guide to being to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the Buddha endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, I prostrate and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you are born on this earth, you pay 7 strides and said, I'm supreme in this world. To you who are wise, and I bow. With pure bodies formed supremely fine, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the three worlds, winner of the best, supreme guide, to you I bow. With a supreme sign, space like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I bow. You are immaculate, the three worlds are not, incomparable wise one, to you I bow. Great compassionate protector, all-knowing teacher, field of merit and good qualities, vast as an ocean, to the Tathagata I bow. Through purity, freeing from attachment, through virtue, freeing from the lower realms. Unique, supreme, ultimate reality, to the Dharma that is peace I bow. Having freed themselves, showing the path to freedom too, well established in the trainings. The holy field endowed with good qualities, to the Sangha I bow. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind completely, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop, a dew, a bubble. A dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through this merit may sentient beings attain the state of all-seeing, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from the ocean of cyclic existence perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. This ground anointed with perfume, flowers strewn Mount Meru, o'er land, sun, and moon, imagined as a Buddha land, to you may all beings enjoy this pure land. Venerable holy gurus, in the space of your truth body, from billowing clouds of your wisdom and love, let fall the rain of the profound and extensive Dharma, in whatever form is suitable for subduing sentient beings. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niyataya. I take refuge, I am awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings.
Risongela.
Oh yeah. Good. Che dang chen be song le ra. Mendo medos. To tembe chunju ko ko. Mendo barwa yu ma sha. Ambu be su ne yu sha. Mendo tembe chunju ko. Tembo che. Ye cha wala chue. Ro ko. Tembo yu ba. To tembe chunju ko ko na so cha. O cha ko ba. O na ga ju ma dai ne ko cha ko sa ji mi su ba.
then never miss a way. And do them best in do cook. In do the look, yes, what should do? Oh, I like condition of some Lamla best of him shoot and bonnet, but a year to book collect. Do them best in do cook. Do you and then young one that longer you and then Yamba the stable so. Okay, and Tibet was a summer. Okay, and do you and then how I am going to put you in it. Do you and Yolam Tam, all and do best in do. Was your kind of touch us to dream ever my yeah. And then Yolam Tam, you should do Yolam Tam, the Abuja. But the young I use some vision them. If you could shoot the living God. The temperature do coconut lodo in the young winter, Jolam Tam, you turned on temperatures. And some leg a tonum also does. So carry some guyuna, give each our carry some guyuna. If I touch you by young good is or Kang some se Kang samba, Java samba sura, John Gotsuba. And some leg a ton of leg carry in the ote, touch your young good is or Adapa to good is or and some leg a ton of also droves. The temperature do coconut lodo in the young winter, Jolan to damage. And the leg a ton of also drove. The Darishane Kesepa Namse, Janju Samba Namisigora, Nami Tranjo, Jundu Tess, numbering on the parts from the next to do it, to can to think this. Nami touches Jundu. Najung Hagan Yamlet Dances, that's it, and Shambukoran Yamlet Dances, and the Kurgan Tishin Councilors, and Tarwan Deba, yes, on to Tungele Tawan Deba. We don't let her one deba. Oh, this is some again. Knitting a yamlet chakure songdoa. Nanjung agent yamlet at a tandu kajan to shake young fellows.
Mm. So here, as is taught by our noble teacher J. Lama Tsongkhapa, he says in a verse that when you don the armor of dauntless diligence, sorry. So when you don the armor of dauntless diligence, it's this kind of unwavering, like stable sort of diligence or joyous effort, this kind of joy in virtue, that sort of attitude. We should put on that kind of attitude like armor. So we wear armor,
Hello,
say, in
Katrina, we
battle.
cannot hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you, Katrina.
Okay. So I don't know what I should do. I'm
On the numbers.
Galar
Kwanzaa-
Rinpoche, can you hear us? Galar Rinpoche? So we'll write to him in the Zoom chat box. and
Okay.
Turn on their speakers.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just keep going. I feel bad he can't hear me. But so this sort of
Okay,
attitude.
now we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
So this sort of attitude of diligence or joyous effort, and when we put this on, this kind of unwavering, that's not going to turn around, it's sort of like donning armor, putting on armor, which we do in the context of like a battle in order that we not be harmed by the enemy. So of the different types of joyous effort or diligence, there is that of gathering virtues and so forth, but this armor-like diligence is the sort of attitude that I'm going to make effort at virtue. And this is what you sort of start with. You put on this kind of armor, you put on this attitude of thinking that however long it may take, however much effort may be necessary in order to accomplish this virtue, I'm going to undertake it. And so when one has that kind of dauntless diligence, knowledge or the qualities of scripture and realization increases like the waxing moon. So the kind of qualities, the things that we understand in terms of scripture, as well as our own realizations based upon having contemplated and thought about those scriptures, will increase in the way that a waxing moon, with every day it's growing larger and larger. And not only that, your conduct comes to be imbued with noble purpose. Everything that you do in terms of your three doors, the body, speech, and mind, comes to be meaningful in accord with the Dharma, the way that you think, the way that you speak, the way that you act toward others. And whatever initiative you undertake succeeds. So whatever sort of virtue, whatever positive actions one starts will be accomplished as you wish when you have this kind of attitude of diligence or joyous effort. So knowing this, then he continues, bodhisattvas expend great waves of effort, which helps to dispel all forms of laziness. I, a yogi, practiced in this manner. You who aspire to liberation should do likewise. So Je Lama Tsongkhapa is encouraging us, that those of us who are striving for liberation, who are striving either to be free from the lower realms or who want to attain freedom from samsara, want to attain the state of Buddhahood, we too should sort of like don this armor, put on this armor of diligence, of joyous effort that allows us to increase our qualities, accomplish our purposes, and dispels laziness. So those of us who want to achieve that should likewise have joyous effort.
Oh yeah, ko tindu de pe chen bo sung do a. Oh, ne ka sir. Tindu ngo de changgang ke la zhuo hao xie lo. Ye jia kan de xin ne de len ju bo na ko ka xin zhuo shi de. Oh, ke ba san bu yin sa ka bi to ne ya ju bo shi ko. Ale khana ro shi de chi. De member che. Ka bi to ne, zhuo bi to. Changgang ke la zhuo. Ya ka so de. Ranzu chawa kare kewe chawa kare shabi na tambu yang jukdu na troya ko na jukda. Ni tao ngu shin jukbe ka la ko stem kabo trobe to yawa sambu to yabu yin sam. Ni tama shadu ina troya ko ne. Kabe ko na o ta tiri chu nye chu she ya kum jagi na samlu tangi na ti yabu. Kabe to ne sha ko yoda. Ni member che tambu na kale kana rishi. Ni chema de kale kabe ka de shana ni chema ne ko. Kele jungdu ke troashi da kiyo ma. Ke sungu do sam tenge de de na. Mambu chapse sam te ura. Juda kale chapse troya ko na ma shana kale cham chema ya sam te ka ya yondu sa te tondu sa so so kale khana sha yo. O ta ya achi te gu yo asam sa. Troya ko ne juba ne ko te tu ya ta ya ke ba sam te sa ya. Kabu ko ne ya te. Ne sha du sa ma kabu ko na o te pe ya. Ye cha wala ya ku. Kabu to ne sha we ne ma ho ba na. Chadele juba la troya. Imania kale khabe ka ne sha we ne. Ni ko paru chelia ang chenge chagru.
So here, Je Lama Tsongkhapa is emphasizing how important it is to have joyous effort, and the nature, the essence of joyous effort or diligence. The reason I translate it as joyous effort is because it's referring to having joy, like liking in engaging in virtuous activities. So here, even if something is difficult, even if it causes us some kind of trouble, to be able to put that aside and feel a kind of joy and happiness at the positive actions, at the virtuous actions actions that we are doing, this is something that is very important. So we need to start our engagement with joy, feeling that it is something we want to do when we engage in a virtue. And so too, when we are carrying that out, we should carry that kind of joyfulness, that happiness with us. And at the end, rejoice, thinking, oh, that was so wonderful what I was able to do. If from the start we have this kind of dread or we don't really have a joy in doing it, it's extremely difficult to get ourselves through whatever activity it is. And so joyous effort is really important at all of the various stages. Like, for example, if we are doing a retreat and we sort of are pushing through with difficulty and we don't really enjoy it, or we sort of stop at a point where we don't feel very happy, then it's going to be really difficult to do that again. We won't want to engage with that again if we're, say, doing a lot of meditation and it's too much, because we don't feel joy. We just feel that sort of unhappiness at that. So it's very important too, when we engage in virtuous activities, have that feeling of joy. Like, say, when doing a retreat, recognize the great kind of fortunate opportunity that we have and think, oh, this went well, and hold on to that kind of joyous effort and that attitude. Because if we engage in virtuous activities and sort of stop when we don't feel happy, or when we feel overwhelmed, or when we just want to take a break, it's very unlikely that we'll take those up again. Whereas if we feel joy at those actions that we have done, we are more likely to engage in them again.
뭐야? 아준주 저거를 준주 완일이다. 이와 최대기 준주 이와 간데 이나 에다 되는 줄 발고 좋아요. 어째 준주 이와 최대기 준주 네 심제된 제기 준주 나도 먹고 고자고요. 준주시 저 가리는 조그나디 타켜버지 아버지 인삼자 그래서 샘게 템버리처 거다 또 렌더카 육샤를 리멤버시 네 심제된 제기 준주 이와 최대기 이와 가리나 조그 인삼자 이와 때다 때가다 가이나 예 저와신의 가시 뜻이네. 심제기 때문에 제알아서 왔는데 내 가이나 도 소아파니 도 조그 인삼자 배셔를 고제춘도 고제춘도 야부 연안에 심지어 되는 시행되다. 개화마 부투벨에서 부터 깔레카가 말와 깔레카나 매베시 또 나오더니 오야
So here again, this kind of joyous effort, we could say it's of like three different kinds. Again, the wish to engage in virtuous activity is the nature of joyous effort. And there is the kind of armor-like joyous effort, which again is a stable kind of unwavering sort of attitude that one will engage no matter how difficult it might be in whatever virtuous activities, not just sort of willing to cast that aside at the slightest bit of difficulty. And then there is the kind of joyous effort of the wish to engage in all various virtuous activities, as well as as the wish to engage to benefit others. So when you have this kind of armor-like joyous effort, where from the beginning you think, I'm going to do as much virtue as I can, this is what allows us to then engage in all virtuous actions. And so too, the sort of joyous effort that says, I'm going to accomplish the benefit of others. When we do so with a joyful sort of attitude, this is what allows us to continue that.
누야 잘 고치다 이외 자와 참마 탐제 준주기 제수도 거든 우마 주바 갑서 로벤 다와다 봤은 것도 연대 말로 준주 진주시 수남로 주선이 얘기 주스 수남 비서 상부 여한데 버체 장반이 지창주 semla 소바 현래 소바 배자와 상부 컨디션이 나더라 수남 지소스라 이 시기 소스르자고 미다바다 동야와다 동아다 담을서 시럽기 차들 시럽기 시행기 차 연대시어와 그래야 시기 소스 상부 제배 차지어라 소소 상부시 잠바자와 셴베 서버 코메라 서버 어들라 선남지 소스 선남지 소데 사소나 네소 수구 상계기 수구 롭지기 줄을 알아 소기고 현상부 선비선 빼제 상부 개줄에 서버 우수지와도 어떤 롭지기 유소를 알아 이 시기 소스에 대 어느 가서래 시럽기 참미다 바다 동해하다 동하다 땅별에서 왔고네 미시베 몽바 세네 시자 내주 탐제 김베 네 산제지 고반토베 줄로 주고 이시치고 탐제 김베 미시베 몽바 세네 랑돌기 내 탐제 시베 우든 줍지 줄로 가라 그래 이시 내 말을 준비시는데 수남 로드서니 니지 정말 신시하고 수남다 시기서 간대지네 대줄이야 또 주디 니 준비 듣고 요라 지당 기회 저 정말 탐제를 준비 그녀라네 네 디나네 암메세 고또 김바 주든 세바셔와 준비시네 삼대 시럽 삼대다 시럽이 삼대 시내 샘세집에 시내 두바 네 라우동 동반이 똑배 라우동라 소바 데 두바야 라우바드네 준비야 붙좀 고여도 대단히 이게 갈수록 아주 진배 갈수 되어봐 민직 배침바 최지 침바스 상승기 침바스 민직 배침바 최지 침바스요 어디는 민직 배침바스야 돼 심지어는 소화방에다 심지어게 강에도 준비 사주면은 그 중하다 나살아서 봐 이거 연대 때주세요 로봇이야 되시기도 민직 배침바다 그러니까 민직 배침바스 대졸이야 또 민직 배침바다 여와 추도 말을 침벌이야로 상승기 침바스 민직 배침바 여와 추도기 침바스라 로트르체메라 안되겠지라 저기 가서래 침바들이야 숨병기 봐 상승기 침바스 상승기 침바스 니 최지 침바스 민직 배침바 어라 최지 침바다 민직 배침바니 들어야 니디 준주디 뺏게 침바차고 어라 지단 강가를 깨쳐래 지난해 되니 가서래 신해당 하동당 네 민지 배신바다 와 최지 신바 세대고 시알에 최셔야 당시 되시거라 최지 신바 민지 배신바서 시행식 강행에 급여다 되실시거라 어떤데 값을 준주대 로아데 개침부레스 베카베토 내주야 되니 신의 활동을 써봐 대주 주발에 개침부레스 오다야
So here, generally, joyous effort or diligence is extremely important. As Chandrakirti has said in his entry to the middle way, all virtues, all positive activities follow after joyous effort. And joyous effort is the cause for the accomplishment of the two accumulations, the accumulation of merit and the accumulation of wisdom or intelligence, he uses the word. So here, when it comes to all kind of positive activities that we engage in, they really follow after our desire to do virtue, our joyous effort, our joy in that virtue. And so here, this is what acts as the kind of cause for our engaging in all of those activities of the accumulation of merit. So those kinds of things like kind acts, having love and compassion and engaging in generosity and so forth, all of those causes that we call the accumulation of merit that act as a cause of the form body of a Buddha with all of the 32 major marks and 80 minor signs and so forth, all of those kinds of activities that are the cause of that accumulation of merit follow from having joyous effort. And so too, when it comes to the accumulation of wisdom, those kinds of qualities of developing our own intelligence and wisdom, things like meditating on impermanence and suffering and selflessness and so forth, knowing all of the various points of the way that things are, the various points of what is to be adopted and what is to be abandoned, all of this follows from joyous effort. It's necessary to have that in order to create the kind of accumulations of merit that lead to the state of Buddhahood, particularly, again, the accumulation of merit leading to the form body of a Buddha and the accumulation of wisdom leading to the wisdom Dharmakaya, that sort of nature, one could say the truth body of a Buddha. And so here, when it comes to all of our virtuous virtuous activities, generosity and ethics and patience and so forth, these follow from joyous effort, from having a desire or a joy to engage in those activities. But in particular, like serenity, our single-pointed kind of concentration, the development of meditative concentration depends upon our having this kind of joyous effort. And so too, when it comes to wisdom, developing our own understanding based upon engaging with the various texts. As well, when it comes to other kinds of like generosity, for example, the generosity, there are different types of generosity, like material generosity, or the generosity of protecting others from fear or from harm, and the generosity of giving the Dharma. In particular, it's so important to have this kind of joyous effort, especially for when we are explaining the Dharma to others, or when we are trying to protect others from some kind of harm. So here, all of our positive actions really depend upon this joyous effort, which is again, having a joy, having a desire to engage in virtues.
뭐야, 다 준비고 믿음이 좋아대로 이거라도 지단 기록 벨레로스라 렐로스 기록이 일년이부터 되어와 다시 내가 간거야 매통게 다시 배 니르고 아니 간지 뭐지 되게 되어라 저들 기록 벨레로스도 아니 자왕의 생기레로스야 자와 탑자 된데 거로 엔도 메게데 다시 자와 된데 거 거대네 자왕의 봐 주단 between 배정에 between 거 된게 되려야 자왕의 생기레로스도 네 따도가 된 당일에 예벨레로스더라 네 된데 람레 롬네 우충이 람라로네 미게와 샹라 체베 릉아 예수가 미게와 상마파 릉아 예수 기권에 샹라 펜바트부터 인정그 말에 삼사 내 영토고 말에 미망분 저와체오르 교진셰오르 거거들 참마체오르 또스 밀리타도 체오르 삼네 어쩐데 삼다니 당일에 예벨레로스다 어때내시 기분 들으시네 약보들에 심지어리 착담해봐 상마라 악초다 셴초스 매버체 상마라 완돌레 동에 밑에 미치서 찍바인 버티데 딱고도 약보다 시다르데 나 연구 말에 삼사로 니 기부 챔비이나 딱베 셴체바 셴드 버시 셴지트 두버데 랑기토 나시 송제 전주선바 기부 챔비 라미네 데오나 대중에 누구 말에 삼사 어디 전주와 말씀오라 아니라 예벨레로스 소소소소 저기 말에 삼네 내 된데 가와 연구를 용 말에 삼사 어떤데 삼기 매선 거라 이제 산제 좀 되는데 전주선바 단단한데 겹수치에서 때도 상마 아무 가라즈를 찍봐 가라즈를 누가 근데 내가 뭐 붙여가라 이내 건조 깔래 겸네 란다 찍봐 간주나 신신네 깔래 겸네 야르야르 야 상케버래 나라라 산제 유르요래 깔래 마지막도 깔래 겸네 겹투에 지어라 랑신지고 공주를 지내 랑신지 공주 잡고 공주 매버서에 매버인데 그래요 말아 사르다네 요래삼 사도 총르다네 매버차야 요래삼 로안 아주 정말 산지기 르이저라 남바이나 때문에 터도 산지도 처음에 보여래 나라저 산지야 요시거라 일람가득게 나저 타르투고 가서 연대 타르투고 상부 타르심바 신의 타르심바도 요시거라 나줄에 산지기 르이요래삼 먼저 산지도 소리에 셈데 아침 셈비랑 신외서 주만남니 루브로와 아세 셈비랑 신데 장마 지와라 주마 공동아제 차돌라서 와도 루브루브 그도 건배왕의 용거 띵가라서 영주샤라 고바까게 있고 야르야르 타르 야르도 어디인데 가서 셈비랑 신외서 주만남 루브로 송번에 나라줄에 사제 저기와래 잠시 제고래삼 안가 단단 남사 용거 말때 마오반에 쳐주 빠체 안부 릉아 예수 권에 쳐와봐 샬라 펜바투 원돌함이 고바 토바체 요시마로 센텔라라다 셰 이체라네 악초데 셰조 차당방네 타르바 와 요모 메나니 요모 왕기 사벨레 오마르 티네 타르바토고요 이치체고 발레 타르기요레 어디 텔레라와네스 아베 셰지 베차주 삼라소 어테소와타고 말아준 정글에 사마옹바나 처음 단도 남산도 조금 말아 제게르바 심쇼 깨고요래 심게 삼을 아침부터 하고요라 아침마다 용말에 삼다니 매와 되더라 심슈 깨니 된다 단도 투마도 마음부 투 che고래 지기야 삼사 담로 가심부터 고래 송부도 되인데 야 되질람나
So, the sort of opposite of joyous effort, of diligence, is laziness. And there are various different kinds of laziness. We can sort of have a laziness of procrastination, where we just kind of put off engaging in Dharma, like, maybe I'll do that later, or I'm going to do this right now. I'll get to that sometime in the future. Or there can be the kind of laziness where we are attached to negative activities, deeds that are discordant with the Dharma. We engage in various things that are negative activities, and out of our attachment to them, we don't have joy in virtue. And maybe the worst kind of laziness is the laziness of self-deprecation, where we see maybe the path that other Buddhas have traveled and so forth, and we think like, oh well, others might be able to do that, but I don't know if I could actually achieve that. Like, others have possibly been able to remove their afflictions or, develop these realizations, but I just don't think that's something that I could do. And so in that way, although we may think that it is possible to become a Buddha, we sort of, due to our own self-deprecation, we don't engage in these things. Like, well, maybe it's possible to get rid of attachment and hatred and so forth and attain that sort of liberation, but I don't know if I could do that. And so because of that, we are sort of our own obstacle to engaging with the Dharma. So when we think about this, though, the objects that we go to refuge, those objects, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they were just like us previously. They began just like us, maybe even worse than us. And all of us, we have this Buddha nature. We have the capacity to become fully enlightened. There are methods, say if we are a very angry person, we can reduce and finally eliminate our anger. Or if we are jealous or prideful or whatever it may be, we have the ability to get rid of those kinds of adventitious stains. Because as it has been said, the nature of mind is clear light. The kind of stains that obstruct it are merely adventitious. They aren't of the nature of that mind. And there have been countless Buddhas in the past. We will become Buddhas if we too put in this sort of effort and traverse that path that has been traversed by countless others. And it is, again, based upon recognizing that our clear light nature of mind is such that these stains are not in the nature of our mind. We all have this Buddha nature. We have the ability, if we make an effort, to become fully enlightened fully enlightened through the process of developing these paths. And so here we should recognize that no, this isn't something that will happen immediately, but if we are to make effort, we can gain a good rebirth in the future such that we are able to continue to practice the Dharma. And even going beyond that, we have the capacity to get rid of the various afflictions like attachment and hatred and so forth, such that we can gain a liberation from this cycle of samsara. And even more than that, we can generate the kind of attitude of bodhicitta, of wishing to benefit all sentient beings if we make the effort. We have this potential, the capacity to develop all of these things. So here we need to generate a sort of mental fortitude. Even if we're not going to achieve all of this right now, we should have this kind of resolve that we are going to continue through multiple lifetimes to strive after this, and recognize that we have the potential, we have the capacity, because we all have this clear light nature of mind. We all have Buddha nature.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Indrichene, Kawachimbe, Zumba, when it Nirin Bezina, Lunga Yusum Jikone, Shala Tawa, Lunga Yusum Kone, Chiniji, Shala Pemba to Winisam, Uchungi Lamiba, oh, Chiniji, Lunga Yusum Kone, Shala Tawa Pambata, Shala Chiniji, Pemba to Winisam, and then Nirin and Gotsuche. Rimbe, the Nimachigna, Lunga Yusum Jikone, Shala Tawa Chigameva, Shala Pembe Chawa Mato, Shala never Chiga Machiba, Raging Gura Chaginisam. If I don't do a chaginism, which I could in and better chair. Or teach an any, Rimbe Koyara, Shiparuchili, Yaje, sometimes some men on the Shala Sawata, Tato, and Density Maggot, the young Sigra. What in day, Yakuisam. In 8 years or 닥쳐다 신초세 강사리아 릭수 마치바체 상마 작당 매바체 상마 매 상마 지규 심제 상마 지규 용도 현재 상마 대원들의 동에 매도 상마 작당 니rin기 작당 매바체 상마를 심년바 이래더니 작당 매배 작당 세바 작당 요르 단제 그러지 작당 싸워는 맹갱기 이 기분 정기 람톰네 타르와 토바샤고 요삼 저는 대상 많이 봐. 딱배 신해지 봐. 소소래 신해게셔. 딱배 신해지게 전주고 심. 어깨네네 심지어 탐지게 죽tum게 탑도 싫어 니가 탈심배. 산지기 고만 토바샤긴세. 탑상부 차다 싫어비 차니가 탈심배 강사진 유아자긴삼. 예체도 된된 규칙이 탑tembe. 산지 손배 천년긴 삼사. 어디 꼴로세탄데 semba쇼스.
Mm. So, joyous effort is something that is really indispensable. If we have this, we are able to progress. If we can sort of in our day-to-day life give rise to this joyous effort of like donning armor, thinking at least at the first that we are going to abandon harming all other sentient beings and benefit them as much as we are able to. And we can one day, if we make an effort at that, get to the point where we have abandoned harming others completely, and all of our activities are to benefit them. But even going beyond that, we recognize that we want to eliminate these kinds of afflictive emotions. And so getting rid of things like malice and jealousy, getting rid of our attachment and our hatred or our attachment and aversion, this is something that we want to strive to do, to not see others, some as close and some as distant, but rather have a kind of equanimity, see all others as equally sentient beings, and therefore make a kind of effort until we are able to attain liberation from these various afflictions. But even more than that, we want to develop this sort of attitude of bodhicitta, of the kind of attitude that holds others as more important than ourselves, that strives to gain a state of Buddhahood, wherein we have, due to perfecting the aim, the perfecting method and wisdom, we are able to fully benefit other sentient beings, perfectly work for their welfare. So with that kind of attitude, we should set our motivation for listening to the teachings, thinking in this long-term way that we want to strive for that goal, and for that purpose, we are listening to the Dharma.
Oh yeah. I'm going to my lesson. On daily to someday ba. Yang jiden go babo se. Tanda nga zo jiden go babo. Jiden gi nelu lonju sama. Ba. Jiden gi kam dramendra, simjan dramendra, itu dramendra, itu sama tamje. Go babo, so se ora. Oh, tene go babo, tende chen gengi kansa harshimbe. Ibu se ta jaga ni bhagwan se ora. Oh, chomden se ro, tende yore se. Ati kol se yora. Jiden go babo. Tanda tal rosar. Jiden go babo. Takba yin se yora. Tende chiyos te takba yin se. Nangba chen te takba yin na. Ne ko Quran niba ro kari ne te yoyo ba res. Ye na ko chen ne niba de yoyo yin na jebu tak to kege ba yin ku res se yora. Niba liya pel drip chiya ke yo ma res se yora. Jeba bo te takba yin ba chen te liya. Jiden dramanda sama soya ke kujing niba yo soba yo na. Tuichik te sama yo ko res. Tu tak to yoyo ba yin ku res. Nga ko chamje. Wa. Dati ko ma res te lengi suru kya ura. Jiden goba bo. Laan drebu tamje kebe niba malu ba. Pinti meba tatu yo jan so. Niba malu ba to yo res kora. Katu yina. Jiden goba padala. Tu tak to yoyo ba re. Tak ba re. Te yo ke yo ma re. Ina ya, drebu tamje tuichik to kebe kyon yo ma res. Ta den drebu tamje tuichik to kebe ure. Tak ba yina. Niba yon sokba tartukba yoyo ba re. Ani drebu keke ba yung res cherwa. O tindre kwa ma res. Niba kanga tsangde yo na ya. Ni korang yo ta kola te ke kukudu. Tan di kukudu, di kukudu san songl ma ta na. Niba yon sokba ina kik ma res na se wara. O tamje do, yuchik do. Kewe kyo yo ba ma yin se. Kare se kange she na. Yusen kare se na. rangin debe wangin debu kebe se yino nyamna se te korangin deba yona ni adi de kugi samna kengure irendo de deba yonzo yone ko te cheba bo samlo tan ja de kugi tan de kugi te kugi medo sam o tende samlo madana yong mare se na se yorto samna ajo de len jabe so de shegi wada samju su shegi wada tene ka se rangin debe wangin debu kebe yino nyamna sa nipa de yonzo yoye barite Kurang deba mani yung marese debe wangi che urese kurang kongpa shene ni yung urese yale yan didar toa de so te ne tokpa didar doa sige wara debi ngubu namne rangi kechi ki kujin ki nipa yonso tokpa yueme la to ne jukpa dan tokpa debu saya de kurang kechi ki nyelen dan lenchi che ki nipa yonso tsoa suna ne kong ke yung urese wara nyenen da lenchi chigin nipa yonsu tso mena ane kega maare sigwara. Imato nipa yonsu, kiwe nipa yonsu tso suna nipa kega gore tilya. Kena samsana, ma kena samsana, te samlo tanya te tindeli rale maare sigwara. Debi ngubu namne rangi kishi ki kyujin ki nipa yonsu tso pa yueme la te ne jukba sudi kiwa sigwara. Dogba sudi jikdwa meba te sigwara. Jukba dan dogba yin kisi. yu ngobo la tene jukba dan dogba kala yinse yin gese yu deba de yu de len deba yeme ki wangi mare se yu de len deba yonsu zosu na ni ke ugre se yu de deba yeme le tegu mare se gora deba yeme la tene jukba dan dogba kala yinse didan dregi sabu la sokba se dregi sabu la sokba tezugi dregi nyugu ya kigi ordo o te kigi ordo koran nipa yonsu zosu na ni nyugu ya ten yunguru mato chigi sabin degi ta nyugu kigi yin sam samlo tansu na nyugu ki tanda kigi men sana nyugu meki wa tende ke ralegi maari sora sabin mahatab chudan tueshe le sokba lenji chigi sabin dala nyelen sigira lenji chigi chudan tue le sokba sa le sokba tezu kanga lenji chigi rwa nyelen teda lenji du roba chigi dala lenji chigi sigara tezu tsoso na nipa yonsu tsoso na nipa kien ure se ina ko kie kwe samsam pado ku de yo mare se nipa yonsu tso na nipa nipa kie ure se nipa yonsu tso na tanda ko yudili ya yudili nipa kie kwe samsam ta kie kwe samsam chen tinde nipa le to ku mare se kwara nokwa yin kie se ditan dreji sabela sokwa kyuso tsangde yu sokwa kanga tsangso na dreshin dreji narwa dreji nyugu kiwe nipa tomi yuebe kabla ta nipa chazan tsangna ani nipa tokwa meba ta ya ile lakwa nipa dre mena ni kodi ya drebuti kiengura nipa tomi sigira yuebe kabla shen sushigi mendu kyans o shen nipa mena ko kyujin nipa yon sode ni kiengure majimi samne kiengure yu majiba samne kiengure swara sushigi jan mendu jan nyugu kielas drebuti kiengure se tende nipa mena shengin de jan tende nipa mena kiwe nyelen da lenji chigi nipa tokpa meba de ya chasan nipa yonsu tsokpa cha mena ni drebu kigma resi wara shenda nipa yona kigma resi yulin nipa yona da mena da de kigma resi wara tende nipa mena shengin de jan drebu ni kiwa mayimba shino se o tishilon ya
Mhm. So here, then picking up in the text, and I'm not sure if I maybe marked at the wrong point, but here picking up then at page 43, following this quote from the Compendium of Reality. Here we've been talking about the kind of problem of a divine creator being permanent, as the Buddhists leveled against those who would assert some kind of a divine creator. A permanent creator, if they have sort of, if there is this kind of, and they use various words, the sort of Indian systems or whatever, to refer to this kind of being who is able to produce the world and its inhabitants. If they are permanent, then whatever ability they have to produce all of these various results has to always be there. And so here, coming back to the text and a sort of rejoinder from those who do assert that there is some kind of a divine creator of the world, they say, the divine creator of the world can always produce all effects without experiencing the fluctuation of increase and decrease. The fault of producing all effects at one time does not occur. So here, again, if the Buddhists would say that if this divine being has the ability to produce all of these various effects and isn't affected in any way by increase or decrease, they always have this ability, then they must do this at all times. They must be producing all of these sorts of causes at all times, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. But the sort of rejoinder to that is to say the fault of producing all effects at one time does not occur. How does the creator produce effects? He does it by the power of his wish. So if you're going to say, well, they're permanent and they always have this ability to create all of these causes and in all situations, but they don't do so because they bring forth these kinds of various results in accordance with their wish. Well, this raises the following problem. Things that are effects give or cease to give their effects depending on the persistence or cessation of the complete causes and conditions that produce them. Again, these things are dependent upon having all of the causes and conditions come together, and that's what produces a particular result. How can they give or cease their effects in dependence on a wish alone? So it is like this: the seeds of the fruit and so on produce a sprout, even without the wish of a creator, once the complete causes are assembled, whereon the capacity to produce the sprout or the effect here is unhindered. So once you have all of the causes and conditions assembled, that is what allows, say, something like a sprout to come forth from a seed. If you have the substantial cause of the seed and then all of the coordinating conditions, there's no sort of, all of those things are unhindered. It's going to bring forth a result. There's no way that it's dependent upon the sort of wish of a creator, the desire of a creator for that to come forth. And on the other hand, if the capacity is hindered, if you don't have all of the causes and conditions in place, then the effect will not arise, no matter how hard someone might wish it. So again, we can see that causality works in such a way as when all of the various causes and conditions come together, when they are assembled, they have the potential to give rise to that effect. And so they will do so even without any kind of wish or desire from some kind of a creator being. So here, this is what is being argued here.
Oh yeah. And this salu jamben de na la song sha ste kung jang yo da. Ya salu jamben do les. Ro. Yala sa ye kam jan de nyam do. Da ge sa be tem be cha wa nyam do me sem so. A be nga zo nyu gu re che. Je ge sing de ba ta ba na. Ne sa le teng ge de chu le teng ge de je le teng ge de. Oh de ni lung le teng ge de nam ga tong sang le teng ge de wa. Zo le ten ne ni ya ke gu de to. O ti yin de yala salu jambe dole yala saye kam jan de nyam do saye kam de ko tembe chawa chi wara chu kam de ko lembe chawa chi wara lungi kam de ya ko ye ni am bu e chawa chi wara wa ni ya di yala so ba te so ya e ba ta o tin de ko mu mai ba so chawa chi wara sabe de ne ko ran ngo ya re ro te chi wara Shenda dozo ko ngo di pan gyuro liya kashe ki tenbe chawa che kashe ki tongsan namka diki tebe chawa che ko tongba meni ya kesa ragu marwa tisu kangal tengi warda sada, chuda, choda, longda, namka tongsan da tisu kangal teni ya kia kuyo wara tisu so ke tumu maibe nipa ririndu wati nipe kien le chonga resti shegu wara rebu tsangma tamche de ranga tumu maiba Techi nipa yuebe kyudiki, kuna timu mahibe chawa karena techi kiri mado, yuchi ki rebu tsama tamche kega chawa tsama che tu kumaro yasi gwara. Ti chawa che de nge ti chawa che ku yu sam ke sam kumaro, kuna nipa yonsu. 돈이야 자와 제대로 얼마도지 자와 집에 누버디 준 루스나니 자와 제용 거마도 일이야 이제 삼부 말해서 알서 그래 뉴베견에 좋아서도 안 가죠 알레마 부셔서 봐 이제 레버리 좋아들이야 뉴베견에 때문에 좋아서 요함에 베견에 때문에 좋아서 세계봐 뉴베견에 때문에 좋아 요함에 베견에 어쩌니 그다음 제발에 좋아서 메타버트 메견에 좋아서 숨쉬도 숨도 쉬고봐 지당하다 주셔도와 뉴베견에 좋아서 요함에 베견에 좋아서 메타버트 메견에 좋아서 숨쉬기도 어디에 미다바스를 규대 딱바이네 연구 말에 균 좋아지 미다바 거래에서 시작도 딱바이네 네버 강가 찾아 여ren 제부 딱바를 시키기 때문에 그랬잖아 미다바 또 맞서니 겨 사추 멜론 남가 사베 그래서 유디레고 유르에 자절 거기도 되게 규칙이 와래 그래서 강가를 뜬 와 그래서 강가 소소소 그 뭐 많이 배차와지야 누가 라랑 그 자래가 레레 가가가가 내가 지야도 와 자와 지야도 와 어디인데 그래서 뉴베견에 좋아 사이는 사고랑 팀 많이 ben 뉴베지 가르치 그래 휴 가르치 그래 소소소 자와를 지야요라 뉴베견에 좋아 지야도 와 네 사변이 안 되냐면 다가 요거 깨버리 제도 삼 이거 인삼 삼개와 삼고 말해 제라 그러니까 이제 야 사서 그 요거야 깨겨라 요구되게 nga 사변 되게 깨서 사다 주다 매다 저저 텐데션은 nga 깨서 삼lok에 고 말해셔. 그러나 네버 저서 야 깨그리 마도 고 네버 저 마저 깨처럼 네버 깨 마게 깨처럼 마도 네버 저나 깨고 삼사다 텐데를 깨고 말해서 그래. 요함에 베껴랬더니 중앙에 시기도 도게. 아버지 안 되냐면 다가 요구 깨버리셔 제도 삼사고 말해서 요거 고라게 nga이 사벽에 깨버리셔서 삼고 말해. 싸게 양에 땜배 자와치기 삼고 말해. 요거게 사벽에 nga라 땜배 자와치기 삼다든지 로에 요하고 말해. 네버 요서 소마저래 마도 그래 삼로 유메게 말해서 어디 딴 딸시에 이시거랑 도되게 살로 잠변도. 엘라 사이에 감변 되냐면도 다게 사벽 템베 자와 냠도 메심서 다 셰바네스 테네제 사추 멜론 남가 네 가르소르 딜레서 뭐 강갈레 랑게 자와체다디 도날 손요라 네 사변 제부 코랑게 사변야 되냠도 사변야 되냠도 아기 요궁곰바 트롭소 냠도 메심서 사변 되게 녜 요궁곰바 녜레체네 트로바 셰베 사생구 마레세 요고야 되냠도 다네 켄데다게 곰바 트롭소 냠도 메세 메게서 어떤데 삼루타네 끼고 말해서라 왜냐 깬데다 여발에 사변 각바나 요궁곰바 조안 조로서 깬데다 상소나 아니 사변데 방가네 조르네 요구데 아도라 사변데 요구데 도거라 요궁곰바 드로바 조로 셰송바타로스 어디 담마데 셰데 설루잠벤도나 방가 요르노 어때서 콩타라
So here, then quoting from the Rice Seedling Sutra itself, it says, regarding that, it does not occur to the earth element. I perform the function of supporting the seed. So here, a seed generating a sprout is dependent upon various different things, various causes and conditions. So the sprout needs that seed is kind of like a substantial cause, but there are also these coordinating conditions, which each have their own sort of unique function in the ripening of that seed into a sprout. So the earth element acts acts to support that seed. The sort of water element moistens the seed. The fire element ripens or matures the seed. And then the air element opens the seed. And the space element is what allows for that sprout to come forth. If you don't have empty space for that to expand into, then you can't have a sprout arise. So as quoting from the sutra, it says, it doesn't occur to the earth element. I perform the function of supporting the seed. Similarly, it It does not occur to the water element. I moisten the seed. It does not occur to the fire element. I mature the seed, and so forth. There's no sort of thought involved, like that of a creator or an intentional kind of a thought on the part of these various elements. But the action happens when all of the proper causes are assembled. So here, when it comes to this kind of situation, it's not as though any of these particular causes and conditions has a thought that precedes it. And so when, again, we are sort of establishing the defining characteristics of what is dependent arising, as has been stated, one of the defining characteristics is that it's not produced, there's no production from a cause that is a creator's thought. Production is only from a cause that is not a divine creator's thought. It's also production from multiple and impermanent causes. And as well, it has to be production from a cause that has the capacity to give rise to a particular effect. So here, again, it is independence upon all of these various things coming together. So multiple and impermanent causes, each of those elements is themselves impermanent. That's how they have the capacity to give rise to a particular result. And each has their own sort of unique function or capacity. They have to have this sort of, as the third quality states, that a cause has the capacity to give rise to a particular effect. So there's a kind of coherency there. There's no need to have this sort of thought or intention, like for the earth element, like, oh, I'm supporting this seed, in order for it to carry out that function. Nor does there need to be this sort of thought on the part of the seed when it actually produces a sprout, when the sprout is produced from a seed, it doesn't have the kind of thought, I was produced by these conditions. There's no sort of intention there. However, when these conditions exist and the seed ceases, a sprout will be produced. So, and then it continues with a quotation from the Rice Seedling Sutra. Similarly, up to when a flower exists, a fruit will also be produced. So there's no sort of creator involved. There's no sort of divine thought, nor is there thought or intention on the part of these various causes. The sprout doesn't think either that it was, oh, I was produced from these particular causes. Rather, when these causes and conditions come together, effects are produced, and there's nothing beyond that that is necessary.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the two songs. Oh, that on that day, Carsoda. Oh, don't do it. That on that day, share the Karisha Gursana. The Babu Shandaji, course, Session, Yongi, Marese. Oh, the Sososoge, Yawasangi in another, meat, the Watunga in another. Soso Chawasangi, Yongi, or this. You can't let any Yongi or the Mato. Shandaji, to put Tangenda, reaching get your Marese word. Simjan Shangi, 2 members. Simjan Namdina Yongiba, Simjan Shangi, 2 members. You do Torto de Bena, member Nanny also. Simjan Shandaji, Soja Shandaji, Nazo Rameba. Kashe Milik, you Kashe Tonduki, Kashe to make you to reach Maresora. Soja Shandaji, Nazo Rameba, to make you to all of you today or Madasagora. Sososogi, Sangegi, Chawasang, Lunga, Yusum, Chawasang, Tene, Yohangame Chawasang, Tendi, Lunga Yusum Chawasang, Tene, Tawada to me, Yungu Mato. Shandaji, Suya Marese, so social rally, or a city, Shagora. Over Mato, Shandati. Which is on the tomato. So catch over the essay. You think Chabapo in the song get you not the yard in the Yora, Rochanat. So catch him for the essay. Only talking kind of this. Jenny Sushin going to your songua. Let on Gamba Chabal, only dog. So Yawacha, my courage was so real tagatage and tribute to young good songua. In the what's all the tirating and Johako or a matter. Shandachi, she said they do some matter. You could buy the caressina or Shandachi location and pay. As a gentleman, but you can let the degree that ended a marese. So catching, but it's also Chawa sang it. It you don't get the Tirimato, Kajoti Janja, 말에 세워지 고고야라.
So here, then, when it comes to this kind of the various results, it's not as though a different kind of creator makes all of the experiences that we have, or that our kind of happiness and suffering is in some way dependent upon their thought or intention. As is explained in the Pramanavartika, that our sort of happiness and suffering isn't given by another living being. It's not as though another living being is able to sort of make us, put us in this kind of situation, but rather our situation of being under the control of our karma and afflictions is really due to our own mind. Our own happiness and suffering are dependent upon the actions that we ourselves have created. And so in turn, turning away from this idea of a divine creator is not just for the sake of refuting the views of others, but rather this is because it is so important to emphasize our own conduct. As the Buddha has said, you are your own protector. No one else can be your protector. You are the witness to the good and bad that you have done. And so the main purpose of teaching this is to sort of take responsibility for our own actions, to recognize that our actions of body, speech, and mind, the kind of karmas that we create, are what determine our happiness and suffering. It's not as though someone else, some other living being is somehow giving us happiness or suffering or could take that away. It is our own actions that are determinant of what will happen.
Oh yeah. 대체시네 뭐. 옹게마 간좀 가서다. 쇼나리 셰나 내신체나. 제부터 저 강가데 제부터 줄을 때니 규定원도 송한테 보여라. 만난게 또한테 비시네고 맹원도 송하래도 또 연구도 하다 메싱엘이 오래서 리포트 보여라. 제부터 규정원도 송한테 보여라. 맞아. 네야 줄을 때는 제부 중한테 내 제배나 내다 사다 주다 류다 주다 셀어서 강가 상대에나 신거 야보치 답셔나 어떤도 야보치 영에 타체를 다시 짜다뭐 타체가 말아 내서 줄을 주시 소바 상을 신을 때니 제부터도 표준 소바한테 용예버드 주부터고 말이셔 안과 같은데 세면된 주나 있잖아 용예시라 용예버드 신거 야보치 싶다고 강가 타다 던도 야보치 연구를 삼사 이 롱아데 포토고야라 아이는 저기 자탐바 용예버드 타지 총마르티니 버를 가르가르시네 이마망아 텐도에니 추망아 용도에나 사변샤로 키도에네 텐데요 말한 게게 용시버와 그래서 tin 용예버드 보고 말해셔 용 롱아데 보고 그래셔 어다 달로던도 야부 용사에 사다 강가 엘르데 강가 야부 총소 롱아데 제부터도 표선 소본 용 롱아데 보고 그래셔라 어디데 예만 아주 세 에리바체데 그제 총소 앞에 머리 이나시티나래 그제 주 어다 따게 거네 리베 두단 두루 그제 총소 공게든 데세서 어디 남베티 엔지릭 베숑네 예부터저 경원도 소하데 망쳐한 레뷰찬에 규디 보기도 와서 에리바체네 망쳐 줄때는 레뷰 중한테 보기도 했어 그치데 아주게 줄때는 레뷰디 보기요데 보다데 내서 줄을 주시 서버서 신치체 안데 내지 누구 종롱 인데선 종롱게레서 다야부지 용게레서 콘제티 보기도 용톱게레 삼되네 제마 종소나 네 다티 종롱을 되는 보고 예상부터 종롱한테 또 와래 네 카두켄 따다고 종하러 종예버데 보토고 말해서 그래 맞아 줄때는 레뷰 종롱하데 용주 여버데데 보거라 내가 내려내리잖아 다 된다 야부 용거리에서 로종도 야부 제시라잖아 당가 안게 야부 토그레 삼사 용종하더라 자식 자도 못해 대라한테 그 보토고 말도 그래서 이제 줄을 때는 제부 간데 용종한테 보고요래 제부를 때는 주 간데 건도 송한테 보고요라 어디도 시에도 거라 어디 실랍네
So here, as is explained in the various kind of great texts regarding cause and effect, the way that we understand this, it is suitable from examining, say, a particular effect to sort of estimate or be able to determine what kind of causes preceded that particular effect. And then on the other hand, if we have a particular set of causes and conditions that have come together, we can determine, we can sort of understand that that is suitable to give rise to a particular effect. But it's not possible to really say with certainty that it definitely 100% will give rise to that effect. So say, for example, you have a place where you've made a nice field, you've gotten it nice and cleared, you have your seeds, you have all of the various kinds of conditions, the water and the heat and all of those things. It's not necessarily 100% the case that you are going to get a good harvest from that crop. And well, why is that? It's because that there's the potential for bad conditions to come about. You could have too much sun, or you could have not enough rain. You could have birds steal your seeds. All of those sorts of things are possible to come about. So we can say that a particular collection of causes is suitable to generate a particular result, but not that it is definite to generate that particular result, because of the fact that there's sort of all of those potential negative conditions that could come into play. And so here, generally, when it comes to the sort of scientific method, Western science looks at, oh, this cause is what will bring about this particular result. And they're trying to look at it in that way, whereas most of the time we look from an effect and say, oh, this is the cause that led to this particular effect. We can definitively say that this cause led to a particular effect ripening. But again, looking from the causal point, you can't say with 100% certainty that this cause will generate this effect. We can say that it is suitable to generate that particular effect. But because of the sort of uncertainty of the world, there's no way to definitively say that it will bring that particular result. So we can fathom, we can sort of infer from a particular result that a cause came before, and we can also infer that a particular cause can lead, is suitable to lead to a particular result, but not that it 100% will.
Oh yeah, what did it? Oh, ding in my car so that yeah. Nambe tenji repeat on it. Tenji, you send the to say the Podan Polo Colia, Jotilin Sierra. What did you take? You should from Dula Yore. Oh, yeah, think this. What did you love me?
Det yanker sorusu
Oh, ding in my Emory University, Telia. Riba Ajachin and Yamdo. Nambe tenji repeat on it. To see the Trupcha Podan Polo Colia. And this is shit of yours. They call it on Sosa. What did you something they say about in this society? You let any. Repo days and the mancha. This short and the Kishitamdula, you are the essay. Kishitamdula. Kishitamdula, Tandang and the day or the. What is it?
So here, this is coming from a conference that was held at Emory, talking about the sort of the logic, the way in which Buddhists describe their logic. And so Geshe Dramdullah, who's there, may remember this, talking about the sort of way in which scientists look more at the cause and say we can infer a particular result will come about. But again, then the Buddhists look more at the result and say what cause led to that. Again, there not being 100% definitive certainty that a certain cause will produce a certain result.
Oh, yeah, young Jiden go up. Young Jiden go up. Bonjula Sobat, the Jews of Vera. Shella Zeve dancer. Shella Zeve Cone. And then in Dramadan, Zamni Dramadan, they do Dramadan, John Dramadan to Shella Savach and the Server Maris, Tali and Rosara. Shella Savach and the Serverina. The Kangalia was over to go to the Son of Caricigre. What was it? Tambuni Mason Yagur, some Jesheva, but Sambu Johnson, the Agdevas, Lapsara. In the one is the Server Maris, Unjula Sober. You then go up on Juge. Shella Seve. The mutual, the mutual server at us, Chotaki, the Nation, Jawa Dungen Dramendra Soyre, Te Mareser, Lanjab Gora. Jiten Goba Bushan, let's say what on Semi Chudo, Jiten not so one did, but my Ingi and this of a Mareser. When Jan Chidder, Sala Soba, Sala Soba and Joa, Chembo Nam Rangin Drebu, Cable and Jubatation Dose. Satan Chudan Meta Lung that is Rang Drebu Jig to us. Whatever Kone came out, Semi Sula came out, Koran Kitachi to us. But then I should you then go up on Jula Soba. Drebuki or is and us see you at that. Chidder Sala Sobe Joa, Chambo Nam Sa Chu Me Loans La Sogara. Nam Rangin Drebu Cable and Jubatation dose. Go babo take us, you can go babo on Jula Soba take ya. Nuchu not so one did I cable Chiba in Ose. No Jig then Dramendra, Juji Simjan Dramendra, you do Dramendra. Pension Dramendra or Tuzukanga Kibaya Senasivara. Such you melongi Debuki dot in a Shinkiva, tell you about Achi Data or Temotevet to the Mares. You should share the in Senasora. Yamnase, the Samba in Nasore. Elian did our thought this. Get it Dana Chidem Goba, the Chibu, Jawat Samje, Nuchu Naso Bandeta. Edit Darnas or Tender Inas or Raked Tender Inas. Jidem Gobabo, Techik Jawatsam, Jidem Gobabo, Onjula so what Techik Jawatsam, Nuchu Naso Bandeta, Jomar and Jurshinese. Or take Koran, the Yobatege, such a melongia, Sala Sobat and Shingla Sobaya, Kivanashi Kiguna, and then Jidem Gobabo, the Koran Yobatsam, not Tagbari de Ora, the Kangaya Kiguna Sigora. Ina Dana Jidem Goba on de Chibu Chawatsam, Nuchu not so one de Dan John and Jurshin. Oh, Koran Chibu Chawa Gene, John Jurse. Then you do Kandoya. You used to Lumbal Segura. You used to go to Zikadu in Esora. You do Kandoya, sir. You do the. You used to Lumba Kawa in Esora. You took a do in Ayasura. You do Kandoya. Nichu Kanya, Narme Sado, Yeneba Yinguese. Nichu Kaya Nugin density. Sashikona Sigora. You should do some gentles, long janging some gentles. I would. Nichu Kaya, Narme Sado, Yeneba Yingues, didn't I remember the Sava Sabayaki or Vase. The Dana Jigdan Goba Bondi, Chinila, Nichu Mendrawa, Chindrashu Yoba Tamje. Even Muju never told me, Yoban Jurses, the Ninjidan Goba Coralia, New Jinjidan Medra, the Sujism Jam Medrawa, the Sama Keg, New Chazan Coral Yoko to Asawara. New Medrawa, Medra Mambuyora, Medrawa, Yoba Tamjese, Ebe Muju never told Muju citizen, you never told me to the cigar. You choose to do that, Tantan Gornick, Tantan God, and the Kiatele Cubicus. Mujus the Tango, so catching even if I catch you to tell Mujus Sigara. Then go about to 2000. Jurmi Tagwang or Yebes, and she then go about to talk about the Vasa. And then never did any thought, never talk about the thought you ever was. Think you are of a church and never church right Omara. Mitapa Mensa, Mitapa in a kutu. I would never change any, I never pair person, they would kick it. And then go about it in this area, Omar. That was on the go. You write, says, yeah, never church, then do I. Then never change the thought, you could ask. The Dana Jiden go about in Bashi, you be. And Jiden go about Bashi, you be take a younger kid to us. That's the shin like Zella Soba the Kanga. No, Jiden, the chief, some Kanga, Jiden go about you ever take it. Ewa dan driba dan deke shimbe gocho kona yewa tsambi samaya kesha to wasi gora. Dana jidem goba pute bashi yebe jan dribu amje kewa yeba tawan jute se. Ye yeba tsambi dribu yenam kewe ngui jun yeba tomi yebe se. Kona yeba tsambi. Jidem goba bo yeba tsambi. Ora nichi jiden dramada sama kechi niba tokba meba de yoye berwa sora. Niba tokba mesu de kechi niba niya kesho jo kaga kechi. Wala ngondo cho. Kesho cho. Ngui ju sigra ngui ju. Yu da ngui ju siniora. Ngui ju kanga chazara ngui ju niba yosu zode ni debu keji ba yeguru asigora. Ngui ju niba masawa meba yoye sose. Dare namde les. Masa meju telani debu kanga ndokwa chis. yu ngui ju niba masawa meba sang sona sora. Ngui ju yuju mata. ngui gi ju kechi niba le kesho jo de. ngui ju niba masawa meba de sang yuna ande telen debu kewa de suyen doya yo mare. Kanga keji ba tegri yesigora. Masawa meju telani debu kanga ndokwa chis sumba taro. Oya.
Mm. So here, then, the sort of rejoinder to this again on page 44 says the divine creator does not produce the various things of this world out of compassion for beings or in the manner of a game. And these are things that we've discussed above and have been refuted. The idea that, well, if this divine creator were in a nature of being compassionate, then why would he have created from the beginning suffering or sort of bad actions and so forth? That doesn't make sense. So the kind of idea that a divine creator of a compassionate nature has created all of this has been refuted, as well as the idea that it's in the manner of the game. Again, that would involve contingency or depending on various things. And so they then continue by saying, rather, just as the great elements, earth and so on, engage in producing their respective effects, so also the divine creator of the world generates this variety of animate and inanimate things. So they would say that in the same way that like the earth sort of acts as a support, the element of earth, the great elements of earth, water, fire, wind, and so forth, each have their sort of nature, the various effects that they produce. This too is the case for this divine creator. The divine creator has this ability from the beginning again, and this generates all of the varieties of animate or inanimate things. So like the inanimate world and those animate beings within it. And so the response to this is then, well, that raises the following problem. If it were like that, then the arising of this variety of inanimate and animate objects would be due only to the activity of this divine creator. Moreover, such a creator would be able to create newly, without any previous existence, all animate and inanimate things at all times and in all places. So again, if this kind of divine creator is permanent in the sense of being unchanging and they aren't subject to sort of increase and decline, they would have the ability to generate this external environment and the inhabitants of it from the beginning. They have that complete ability. There's no sort of change that comes about. And so none of these things, having existed before, would be newly created by this divine creator, all of the varieties of these animate and inanimate things. And this divine creator, having a permanent nature that is always unchanging, must therefore have such an ability constantly. So it's not as though, again, if this kind of divine creator is permanent and unchanging, then they have the complete ability to give rise to all of the varieties of world systems and the beings within them. There's nothing that they need in addition to that to bring those forth. And so they should be producing them at all times in all ways. And so here there's a sort of a phrase that says that they like have the ability to generate all of these things in a way that's like they're the proximate cause of that. They're not sort of acting as like a farther down the road kind of cause, but they're the proximate cause. They are that which is bringing about all of these things by themselves. And if it is the case that their power is not obstructed in any way, they have this ability constantly, then just by existing, just by being, they should be bringing forth all all of these kinds of worlds. So if this were so, then as only this divine creator of the world exists, they're the sole sort of existent, he or she must constantly be creating all effects without any interruption, for he or she has the complete capacity to produce these effects instantly, merely by existing. So it's kind of like, without any other necessary cause, just the existence of this divine creator should mean that their ability, they have the ability to instantly, without needing any other kinds of causes, bring forth all of the various world systems and the beings within them.
야, 양 대세도 양 배지 또아 전기 제부 바잘라 속바스 배지 또아 전선은 domsik이라 가지고 우측이 용거와 이때 거주이나 지만 그거르지만 뭐 당시 근데 방구도 생기도 와 배지 또아지 그래서 domsik을 가지고 좀 춘주지와 아 거기 왜
하고예.
어야 어딘지 배지 또아지겠어요. 그 배지 또아지 저거 날 배열에서 배 잡으러시 꾸버 잡으들 당시 아스칼 콜로라부터 세체 그 무슨 얘기지 소도 어딜 세가라 배지 또아지 이제 양게 대부 빠잘라서 빠졌을 그 거래를 개파제 수천 무간 그 대용은 심처저제 아소라 그날 수준에 드라이브에서 시작도 됐어요. 배지 또아지 이제 양게 대부 빠졌을 거자 그거만 못 참으디 바쁘서 당샤시다 됐어요. 빠잘라서 ngoni ki ke balan jugbar che ja ko rang shingi ko di ram busaya ta dal tende ko rang shingi aja to so do asora ke balan jug ja se debu na chicha do ke me ko ba shin debu chicha ke kuma do ko kali so do asora anda ta de tak ba yin debu kanga chicha do ke gure se so che ba bode mao ba na rim jin dam da kali 마음반 마부께어라 저저 단단해 게 우리 단단해 게 지금 네버 용서 봐 요를 와시 연식이 왔다 제가 어디 꼭 말해 엄도 저게 거랑게 안구 심해 전달이야 빠졌어 당신이 고 왜 그요할 때 이네 위치도 쏘고면 도와 걸리 쏘고도 와시고 알아 림지름 이 나시레스 내가 그 바보 얘 나시 림지름지 쏘죠 딱 봐야나 위치도 대부분 중국 말이 깨고 말했어요. 이게 또 아침에 랑게 대부 빠져서 속바 뭐니지 깨발은 죽을 시장 대부분 직자도 깨매고 봐 대신도 소라 지된 거 봐보자 대부분 랑신기 깨발은 죽을 시장세 랑신기 와 랑와도 전에 깨발은 죽을 해서라 대부분 직자도 깨매고세 매고서 냠나서 어디 당신이 깨버리네, 라완시 깨버리네, 지셔도 깨고면 도와서 엄되게 dom타도서 강가에 야게 당신이 깨고도 위치도 깨고면 도 되게 찍버리 냠나서 거라. 그냥 밑에 뒤에서 된대면 도셔라. 대기 도와체기 바지 탁바경 안에 대기 도와체 되게서 와. 바자시그라 바제 탁바디 가스칼 바 짱기도와 얘다 연시 콜로럽 소셔도와 동안란 죽바야 소샤 사워데베 죽바 인기에서 소샤 사데네 티나네 부도즈 lep스네 테 심샤그레스 아니 사고요 삼고 이소위 얼마도 랑신 다가스 소위 얼마레스 와라 사워데베 죽바 인기 랑신기 죽바니 마이노스 랑신기 콜로메브레 다가스 이소야 마르코 삼루타네 소자 산드네 니 소고도 오시거라 대단한 체듀레서 에메테 코나니 튜발레로 아주 상가라시라 디르가 디가서 롱장브라 잔디라시다기마 와자 발라랑신게서 발라게 자세 파자세드라 dom다드시거라 랑신게서 네메큐네 멘드데서 오랑신기 낼마스 타바춘주 가스칼 타바서 오르다 춘주 가스칼 아야 되시고라 네메 큐네 멘드데스 가르다 아시리 소자 산데래 가주인의 자와셔서 그 소자 산데네 그런 가셔가니 가주세 가셔래 가주 말에 심벌 소리 치르서도 소자 산데래 가주인의 자와셔서 자와 부심에게 자와내시디 요샤래서 예선바다로 야 되질라면
Mm. So here then, just to conclude the previous point, from Dharmakirti's Compendium on Valid Cognition, he states that for something that has all the causes, how could the effects ever cease? So again, if that kind of divine creator has all of the ability or the power, then how could the effects that they create ever cease? So here, the sort of one who asserts a divine creator comes back and says, just as a spider creates its web and so on naturally, without having to produce its effects all at once, so the divine creator creates his effects naturally and does not need to produce effects instantly. So the sort of language that they use is a little bit older, but here in the English, it's quite clear. A spider, a being that creates a web, they assert here that that spider does so naturally, like the way that they create this thing that has various threads that catch insects. Again, when a spider is doing so, it's not instantaneous. Rather, they have to sort of lay these threads out and create a web. And so as a sort of response to the Buddhists saying, well, if something is permanent, if it has the ability to produce all of the various effects all at once, like it has all of the ability, then why would it not produce the effects all at once? And so their rejoinder is to say, well, these things that can having the ability to produce it doesn't mean it's going to all be produced at once. Rather, it will come in sequence in the way that, say, by nature, they would say a spider creates this web and it takes them time to do so. It's not necessarily the case that all of the effects have to be produced instantly. And the Buddhist response to this is that this is also not tenable. It's not that a spider spins the threads of its web out of a desire. It is the case. A spider spins the threads of its web out of its desire to eat insects. It does not do so simply by nature. It's not as though it's just this nature of a spider to lay a thread, to make this kind of a web, but rather they're doing it for a purpose. They're doing it in order to catch insects, to eat something. And so it's not sort of a natural occurrence in the way that these proponents of a divine creator would like to assert. So here, quoting again from Shantarakshita's Compendium of Reality, it says, a spider does not naturally desire to use its threads for a web. It's not like it just sort of does this just because, but rather it's out of its desire to eat insects that it creates a net from its saliva. And we can, there might be different types of spiders that either use their saliva or something else to make a web, but in any case, they're not doing so just out of nature or sort of being compelled without any kind of reason or just because it's their nature again, but rather it's out of a desire to eat insects. There's a certain motivating cause here. So this is not a tenable example of the way in which a divine creator produces.
Yeah. 양지 된 거바부 샬라 쩨베다 다야디 레자베트스거라 이된 거바부 샬라 쩨베 코네 뉴주기 지된 담면다도 서바 마레스 에테무체바나 시기 지된 나소바도 서바야 마레스 알로다 멘덴베 교 오네 간데서라스나 로다 멘덴베 교 강시스 삼루탄네 텐데제 메도 가시 다제 캠도로 톰리아 다스 로샤네 당부체시르 메베세 코 로담멘데베 아시안 로샤게 카스칼 탐돈데게 시오라 로담멘데베 교원가시 강도 로아나 또주 가야 메바세 가반도 가바멘도 담분데 체시게 메바세 꼭 다스반 로샤 아주 톰데스 도네 다스까지 뭐지 카스칼 로샤가 어디 내신 도네 소라 강도 로 또주 삼로 땅에 다 제반도 가야 마셔세 메바 랑가르스 다가스 거라 랑가르 다가스 랑가르 지시 다른 죽바 대신에 코라카와카 다가스 로샤 잠시 다가스 지시단 죽바 신도 지단 괴바부 갸테 다른 지대 괴발란 죽바 지단 괴바부 지단 괴바데 어떤데 samlo ta chi shira ke che ma ro kora mi chi ko cham do ne samlo shira ma dan pa sun do ne kas kal do sha is wa ine shi rangar jong chi re se na se wara iden go ba bin ju ba yin no shi na se dar jig den go ba la ju ba yin ne shi na se o mi ti samlo ma dan se to ju ka me ta se ba cham do do as ka sun do sha do ti na shi che se na se da na Shinto mongbe nyabala sokbe kyo ameba namki tigle lagbar. Jigden kyo di tignam chidar sokba dan demba age sonwar gobar gyote mingyo rosa. Tene keche te parsora. Tata nyanga menge cha sonwa sigora. Tena nyabala sok nyasimge lobchon che ma chenge tindiri chi ne ako. Samlu tangje kule achigri mato samlu che matane. Yasi mele soba kita lopso mene ako di chik maro si ora o yezu ki chik nashi yezu ki samlu tandang le membe samlu sori chiri yesi ora to suru kinam chidar tokba dan denpa take sonwar ba namchu chengi nye goba dan nye hebe kecha kere me duwa serte tawas tus resha resina samlu me chambat sewe kone ke mare seme chule mare Tishin Nasela Sosato Kibanashi Kibayamare, Ascorantus Kivares Nasura. Oh, Tina, the Darian Chetules, eating this Songtara. Yeti Chishi Tarjo Nasa, Asako is all a Jubayanasura. In Jungde, Chindashi, Ashi Nyabaya, oh, Tende Jungwe, Chi Samlu Lujun de Kage Mabashe. Inda rese kage mebashe kage nyaba ya mesele la kanshire nyasim ge lobso menge ro ta daga to bai ne ralu songe lobso smache ralu cha so chuju ga ne so denge do o te zo ko ma che cheba ma che ne le jogu ma re sera na de cheba ka ya ma che ne ta so am da chembu de so sha de o ti rong ma re so ra Yala ju me jur she son bata ro ya te chilama
So then they come back again, and again, someone who would assert that there is some kind of a divine creator, they then begin to go through other options. So the divine creator does not produce the various things of this world out of compassion for beings or as a game. So those are options that we've already sort of gone through. But instead, they say, just as when those who wander somewhere without much forethought, proceeding without investigation and just doing it in any old way, so the divine creator of the world creates the world. So here, they're then trying to assert that this divine creator doesn't create the world sort of out of compassion for beings or isn't doing it in the manner of a game, but just in the way like when we wander out somewhere without a particular plan and we're kind of walking around going from place to place, this is the manner in which a divine creator is creating the world. They're just sort of doing it without any sort of forethought or sort of particular destination. They don't really think about it. It just kind of happens, sort of just doing it in any old way. So too, this is the way that the divine creator creates the world. Well, the response to that is that, well, why then should thoughtful people keep in mind the words of this creator over and above the words of a common fool? Again, when it comes to any sort of work, even if we haven't particularly studied something in depth, like say you're going fishing and you don't really know much about it, you're still going to think about what you're doing as you're trying to put things together. No matter what activity it might be, it's preceded with some sort of forethought. So here, quoting from the Compendium of Reality by Shantarakshita again, it says, if the creator's manner of engagement is thoughtless, what can we say about his creation? Even a fisherman will not work without first thinking it over. So whatever sort of job it might be, even if we don't know much about it, we usually think a little bit about what we are doing, even if we don't have particular skills. And so it doesn't make sense that a creator would engage in this way that is totally thoughtless, that doesn't have any sort of foresight or planning, just sort of doing whatever.
Oh yeah. That there's somebody Emma Carsoda. And ye Jiden can imagine the Kong you get a no trees lying in the Yevetendera. And Chamber Sobotezo de Vashekora. You do a young cocoran to Jambala need to Chungudua. And Jen Hache but a Lame Pass. Lame Patical won't you serve a mother, Chiso Koran can young Chunga, Chiso Sidia. Ambudambo then the Chisimjan Dupsig. You do to by Ibala, some man gets you or the Sigara. Oh, dig Koran, Rangshingi, or New Ginji, then this summer is to be Sigara. Again, Jidachi Babu Meduke, or Angela, you remember. You do a Angel Hameba Secretary to summer. Oh, Tingel and Nichi. Mangamada. Two messer. Young Bimba said it's Jarok. Your mother, young at your Majudan Chebabu, your mother. It's a Tarasi Shever stinging in it, but lot to tang in a year to a. What you did? I did, and that is a call shake your. That's from then they paid the lodge sector up the ra. You don't have the order. I think it's a Kirubata, so Kirubatamati, Yamdo Yam Dorshidwa. But in nature, and the Sunji Chebabu came a language in Aku. I saw that. And then she had a mouth daughter, but she taking in the door. The Koja Ramachabura Lundameda Mabuyora, Tanjamba said she was in Mabuyora. What is it? You to the Shagiora. And then the shares of the Shun de Garrison, Nambeshon, Candy Rakshita, and Samanambre that Taliora. The condition is to tune it in the Red Shasha. The direction and drink with the direction drink with the school. I saw it. I was just ordered to link that she makes Shira. What is your lama? It's a Saba love Marata.
So here, when it comes to the kind of views of a divine creator, and also those that do not espouse an idea of a divine creator, the views that we're discussing here are those that go back prior to the Buddha. There are older kinds of traditions, like a Samkhyas, for example, and even among those, there are, for example, Samkhyas who are theistic, who assert that there is some kind of creator deity in addition to the primary sort of substance that is the constituent of this world. And there are those that are atheistic, that don't assert any kind of a creator deity, but just this sort of primary substance, this main sort of constituent of the entire universe and its inhabitants. And so these, again, are views that preceded the Buddha. They're those that asserted that there were no past and future lives, no creator whatsoever, and were sort of had a nihilistic view, kind of like the Charvakas or the sort of hedonists, we sometimes call them. So the Buddha's views, however, are from 2,500 years ago, but there were views that came thousands and thousands of years before. There were many different traditions and views that existed in India. It seems like it was quite a free place for various types of thoughts. And so here, when we are sort of looking at the views of these other traditions, they come to us through the sort of work of Buddhists who have looked at the source texts and then have put those views into their own texts, such that we can sort of understand the various kinds of assertions of these different traditions.
Oh, yeah. No, that didn't matter. Oh, dear. Kasoda. I do say, yeah. Then you didn't go up and do best some juice. Jiden goba bu mende be samjus. Ta tanda tsu jiden goba bu ndusu de mangeme tagage. Tupta koma tsu lu shegi yordan. Angema lo tonda chitane. Jida ngene ko samlo koyere chi yodwa. Isu kanga songeji yore yomare kandisi chungare se samlo kore kura ka shidara. Che tendu suru che tingsa me mambu yorda. Kandisi chungare kare chungare samlo che kogi mardo. Tambuli kandisi yore nambwa tongwa che kili chate yore kandere samlo ke kukura dan shintu stete tendu nashi. Ado samlo koye kabura. Kitane ko tezu kanga. Yo nga ma ye ma ye se ta jiten chibabu ye ma ye kandisi chungare se samlo koye kurande abure do aye. Nduna shiche ka karicho ma ye hama ko ste shang sorji marwa. Eso ko sanje chile se ora nemachi chege paksha ta chi. Indeji mambochi yene ti kansa kashe samlo na yene te samlo ri korchi chi samlo kora. Imado she nduna shiche ko ibare chi te shana samlo korte ngu marwa. Ti chi lapsana. Dine ma ne nangba ge suti yan shege ora. Yeah.
No. So, there again, these are sort of really old views. There are those who do assert some kind of a divine creator, their views being prior to the Buddhas, and they've really thought about this a lot, thinking about how it is that a divine creator would create the world and the beings within it, and so forth. And again, this sort of thinking about this is something that is good. The kind of assertion of Buddhists that there is no divine creator, getting to that point is dependent upon actually contemplating this and thinking about it. So those who sort of don't question this at all or even put a thought into it are really no different from animals. Whereas having this kind of, when we talk about the enlightened activities of the Buddha, even sort of sparking that kind of question of what is the source of the universe and where did it come from and so forth, this kind of thought is something that is very positive. And so contemplating this and engaging in this way, we could say is part of the enlightened activities of the Buddha.
Oh yeah, tende samlo ko de ne ti songeje medro sam so devana shi yongyo marwa. Chulo jagyo ren ramendra yore kange mangbo yongyo re ti chi songeje medro sam. Shenda chi so nebe mandang de ha ma ko de ne ya. O shenda songeje medro sam ni cheba bo ye ma ye se do. Tende samlo ko ne kasha yore kasha yo mar se samlo. Ngudwa. Ah. Oh disla.
Oh. So some will kind of look at this environment and the various types of like suffering within it, and will conclude that there's no way that there could be a divine creator, that there's not some sort of divinity, all-powerful sort of being who made all of these things. Whereas others might look at this and actually conclude the opposite, that it was created by a divine creator.
Oh yeah, tan jiden go babo mende be samjo se jiden go babo emere nangbar chine da ya jiden shenda tinde mare so lele tene jwa de sigara so ko sum gile da ngara ju chen dile ko so samlo tang da ne le ji tawa che da ngage ko ne tawa che da o tinde lia lobjo che bal tene ko yawa da tunge da rang de be da tuwe ta mende ba se ya da tinde yong de do Jungu sum du tu te chen de le ni kang ge le ga che samlo ta ge do samlo ta du ko sembe le se yo ra ente ne khane ke che she lu pa ju tu ju le sa yo ra lu nga ge le se yo ra o tin de chen ne ni ko de bu ti du yong de do o tin ne shi ta kyo nga ma nam su che shang ge le de sa ben de bu mi ma tu ba tan da chen de le mi ya da a chen de le cha wa tin de chen de bu mi ma tu ma o ba la mi ya da de nam sa chi she te yo ra. Ah,
So then, from the perspective of those who just assert, like Buddhists, that everything arises from karma, our actions of body, speech, and mind then are what determine our kind of happiness and suffering. This is what brings about these various kinds of results, brings about the world and its inhabitants. And so we can like directly establish this for ourselves. We're constantly creating karmas, both through our intention, the intentional karma, as well as that which is intended by it, the actions of our body and speech that are motivated by those thoughts. So this is what creates the causes for our happiness and suffering, as Buddhists would assert, is that it's our own karma, our own actions, the mental actions as well as the physical and verbal ones based upon that.
ngarazu ngusum thoye dwa sedel ko samlata je ko do da nga je da resem da shegi karsor lonche tobde ta o tinde samlata an teletene je che chuba cha tene ma jab kanga che dwa ngarazu mirere kerke inde che yorani okwa ke tinde che lungba ke tinde embul ko ra tinde che de dwa yaga de cha samlata yaga de che robo da che inde yong dwa ko semgi samlu tanda da lenga chebal tene ko yawada tunge ta chi gebe ngobu tuwa da mende ba se de yon de bete delia nga ju yon de chi toye do ga o ti na shi ti kum shi de ja du de ni kyo de kum shi de yong ara le sem samlu ta ya nga kar cho ya ga tu tunge se de ka nge se de samlu ko o ti de de sin do te le ki wange itu nyo se 제바 보신다 요 말에 소설래 용교래세 어디시기도
So we can establish this directly for ourselves, like by looking to the experience of this life. Like say if we are really negatively motivated and we engage in fighting with others, we're going to experience unhappiness and suffering as a result of those kinds of actions. We can establish this in sort of our own private experience, our individual experience, as well as what happens in groups and then what happens in society and regarding various countries and so forth. So our way of thinking, the things that we place our mind on and the way that we engage with our mind, then leads to how we act, which creates the causes for what we will experience in the future. So our experiences of suffering or our experiences of happiness are directly related to those kinds of causes that we ourselves created.
오야 다 상계바 tarnase jiden che ore jiden goba bo mendo be samjusedo jiden che ba bo mendo gege samlu tanda o ti yolam khande chiwa ti ko shegora samjusira o ti ta lo nyeto rugya jenge ngyor to sangye chumden de da ni jen la so wa jengi tambal so bo to zo keneni ti ke che de ba bo mebe awto so ngudwa sanje ba tar na se takba rang ju ge jigden go ba bo me na ya se o takba yin ge rang ju rang shin gi tang bu ni ne na ba sanje be te kheling ge mara a she takba rang ju ge ki bu che tang bu ni ne tin de yin ge chi tu a she tin tang bu ni ne ya song ge tung le so ba nyong de ge tu ja tu tin de kheling ge ma to ang ga chi pa che ni so sam ju ko som ge cha wa sa ru chim ni ya ru chi samju ngeru chinu tur ma kiwa sangen ruwa de keling yordo ti indu ka soda sanje ba namba sanje ba tana sora takba yinge rangju sine kora rangshinge namba ine sanje yore sanje tang me ba yora kya kun se yende kundi gi kibu tang me ba yore zu rangju ma de tambu kale kya razu de chikba che ne chamba da chawa da meta donge ton tamela so shi che ne su lo komba che saur che ne ya ru ne rim ra ma bo yung ju to wa inde chen ya sang che ra ma do sang je de tambu ne sang je ge kyan ja ngara zu ka di ne ko ra ko de tu nyang ko te de ma de si go ra anzo ya ru do ya re se sem de ya bu chi wa ra ya bu da tu kar che sem de che da she tum ge che da se tum ge ha ko tum ge chi wa ra o de ya ye do ya re se nganzo sang ge ya re se she go ra sang je ba ta na se takwa rangzhu gen jikden gen goba bo takwa rangzhu gen jikden goba bo me na ya chara jigden dinam yuji mebar rangjung shigya mai be ane dezu ne jigden da chugi semja da chig dezu damada imanda wala sokba tende shi namba tongbe kel shi damada do dezu kare sena sigora dezu ju me na ju dan ke me ne yong ma re sora ju side ko chaya ke nyele del sora ken side tel roba chengere sigora jidan ko ken de ju de ju dan ken se sune nyele da lenji chigya sora yena gyuji meba rangzhung shigya mayin bese gyuji meba che kora rangzhung ki rangshin ki tsukta yomba che maare shara yada ki gyu kanyi nyam nasa tan desu kandes chunga rese kora tan gyu kari rese kibu nambar shebe kiti ki senbe le dasa o mitsu ki kibu sudu kansal sikora nambar shebe semle sikora kiti la sembele dansa yawada tikba kole samlutan yake sembele desi wara semki samlutangra jawa sangbo dechi samta jawa ngemba shenla nöba da chawala so ya shenla pembala soba yawada tikba samlut esi wara yawala jungdu ki samlu tikba len jungdu ki samlut la sembele esi do semki samlutan kisholen jukbare chenge ki sheba shidwa la sembele esi wara o timbacha yatabi nambar shebe itiji sembe le dasi nambar shebe kewa da tikwe le la pa sembar shebe semba tila le sigora sembe le sigora tele chungwe se te samlutani jawara yakure samlutarwa miji kange yubare samluta atila rogwa chegure samsare samlukore na sembe yigi le kewa dirwa atele tene paachi ni rogwa chisachi mengale te karichegune rogwa che sheba kane keji sheba de ni lyugi le da ngagi le sigara lyunga yisum ki le sigara yi le sembati che tambo sembati kune langbe kane keji she da ni lyugi paje suju she da roba she kanga lyunga ki chawani de lyugi le da ngagi le sigara nambar she sembe le da se tele chung lyunga ki le sangi tumashi le se lyuda nga ki le ulung sangbu kune lani lyunga ki le sangbu yungore ulung ngembe kune lani ni lyunga ki chawa ngemba yungora sangi tumashi le se kibu tidu nyongwe tendo ne dansa kibu tidu nyongwe ki tenrwa shichi liya tidu nyongwe tendo se ne dansa ne sajara chikoro ko tidu nyongsa shi desari chikoro ti sashi ti sikoro ne jinji kenzi koro yawada tunga nyongwe ki shiti liya ne dansa ni nyongwe ki lu tiri sikoro migda nawada nada cheda sukta tiru rekshalo so long chene yawada tunga nyongwe ki lu chikoro toku ti sikoro nyongwe tendo ne dansa sashi ti che ne jinji kenzi koro lu so trubne se ni lu trubwa kala tena ni tsawa dewa tunga da damada kanga trubwa miki number shiva naga number shiva ne number shiva yutu su tong ala tena yabu dusam tubu dusam teni tsawa dewa ke tunga ke ni dewa trubwa da tunga siya tanda ala samlata yutanda lunga ki le sa che ko te yor don inga zo ha ko te yor itu nyue tendo ne da lu so trubne tedale kim tedala sebra kibi longche banase longche je ne jinji de tore longche je lu tore ele tene me na na che to ni su ta te ro de jala so to longche yora lu so trubne tedala kibi longche banase longche bana itu nyoa yeno so o ni meki chi to so no de yabudo alo kongere chi persona wa ana kwebe chi yabu su le longche son persona so de wa se ro o de yabu me do samza mi giba me te ve su le longche son so to nge se ra 제가 맹게를 제 롱체스는 좋아 땅님으로 제도고 이비 롱체바나 되도 녀와이 넣어서 소자제로 레샤 와케셔리 스테서나 셰리 터비나 야 소설 때버렸잖아 소설 매버렸잖아 야리 소설 거야지 되나 그에 전에는 감조 터서나니 소아티도 연구를 하듯잖아 다르면서 야고 이나신다 이다 로다 렉처를 서버 방걸 롱제바나 디도 용화에 넣어서 술디자 라라 괴베츠게 라라 괴베츠게 소리 라라 메괴베츠게 소리 저 맹게츠게 소리도 왔들 서로 하시거라 서로 대화 도와동에 도와 땅님 다른 조발에서 심리계는 심전지다 엄마 조바 받은 나와 잡아 센터 그대로 엄마 조바로 마담에 아와타르스라 엄마 조발에서 심리계는 심전지다 너진지다 신도 나서 그 로아마루 레레 깨버서 심반에는 레게 요마예세 심게 담보 삼루다 심리계는 심게 예초라 심바 미게 예초라 심바 ten데 제벌 때네 이 령하게 줘봐 상부당 냠바니디 용거래서라 이 령하 예수 빌레를 때네 아니 여와다 동해 녀에 시디 용거래서라 심리께네 심전지 된다 심전게 롱체체지 롱체바 부스라 심전기지 너진지 된 신도 나서 너진지 된 서시도 쓰여라 심리께네 심전지 된다 너진지 된 신도 나서 로마루 레레 깨버서서 어때서 로사마데 레레 때는 깨버서버려 소소소게 이기 레다 령하게 레 상해를 때네 요 상해다 류상해다 동주상해다 너진지 때 상해를 써봐 어떻게 깨야 돼레 상해를 때네 대대분 연구를 심리께네 심전지 되다 너진지 때 신도 나서 그서 이때 나서 야가다 도와 강가 파르마도 야야데 어때 때네 총아래 소라 이때 나서 와데 거바를 레게 거라 거바보데 레레 소라 셈레 소라 셈이기네 심전지 된다 너기 셈기 레사 응하게 레사로 응하게 송글레를 된 그래서 텐데 양라 중이 시리시고 토메 마르 베꾸네라 이번 두지기 레스기도 담보 레사야 되고 나 삼사 라와에 나치 삼르당 거라 삼르당 두서네 나에 삼사 나를 잡아야 돼 나를 때와다 동해줄 거고도 대고고 메도 삼사 삼르 거고라 이거도 네 셈기 삼르당 거도 네 레사기도 오메 마르베 꾸네라 이번 두지기 레사세 네 숨바 남실은 내가 샤네 네 지네 요알랑 거도 맞아 심리계네 심전지 된다 너진지 된 신도 나서 그 로마루 레레 깨버서 심반에는 레게 요마이스 그랬던데라 남바상게 버셔는 지된 거 보신 요마레스 심진 지tun지 레다 냠도 사셔베 레다 소소 게르게레 뭐 많이 버서서 르당 롱줄을 소바티 트웨데 소소 안사케리 소소 티모 많이 벨레 지샤는 너진지 된다 처음에 티모게 롱체체도 티모엘레 된거라 심리계네 심전지 된다 너진지 된 신도 나선 것 로마루 레레 깨버서 심반에는 레게 요마예스 어디 정말 레레 때네 깨버려 심을 때네 총알에 쓰고라 심직 된게 제법에서 야 그래서
So, here, then turning to the next section, which is the thought and deeds of those who do not assert a divine creator. So here, just to kind of summarize this a little bit. So here, again, 2,600 years ago, we had the Buddha come into the world, and there are those that are not Buddhists that also assert that there is no divine creator, such as the Jains and so forth. But there are those, it says, question here, although there is no self-existent, permanent divine creator of the world, from the point of view of Buddhists, the things of this world are not self-existent without any causes or conditions. So what are their causes? So there is no sort of way of asserting a self-existent, self-arisen kind of permanent divine creator. And so then the things that exist in the world can also not be self-existent. So what are their causes and conditions? So here, according to Buddhists, it's really everything is dependent upon karma. And so we have the ability, based upon working with our own mind, to improve our way of thinking, to improve the kind of situation that we are in. Again, there have been countless Buddhas that have come in the past, and they began originally just like us as ordinary beings, who then, through developing positive qualities like love and compassion and understanding impermanence and selflessness, and then eliminating all of their faults, removing their afflictions, getting rid of those obscurations to omniscience and so forth, they develop the complete knowledge of what is to be adopted and what is to be abandoned. And based upon that are then able to lead and aid other sentient beings. So here, when it comes to the sort of understanding of Buddhists, everything is dependent upon causes and conditions. It's not as though we are always within samsara, but rather that everything is dependent upon karma. And in turn, karma is really talking about our mind. So here, as it says in the answer to this, living beings' consciousnesses create both positive and negative mental karma. Arising from that are the many physical and verbal karmic actions, both virtuous and non-virtuous. From these come the locales, bodies, and so on that are the basis for beings' experiences of happiness and suffering. So here, when it comes to a Buddhist understanding, again, we have the ability, because everything is causally dependent, we can, if we create the proper sorts of causes, we can improve and develop our mind such that we have the potential to become fully enlightened. So when we talk about causes and conditions, the more general kind of term is cause, and conditions act as causes. But when we're talking specifically like a substantial cause, and then those sorts of things that aid that, we use that term cause and then condition. And so it is from our mind. The mind is the main cause that acts to create all of the various kinds of locales, bodies, and so forth that are the basis for beings' experiences of happiness and suffering. So it is the mind then that creates virtue and non-virtue. We have the ability, by working with our mind, to eliminate all of the kind of thoughts of wanting to harm others and develop the sort of wish to benefit others most fully. So it's the mind that really engages. And so when we talk about mind or beings coming from sort of this first mental karma, and then the kind of actions that are driven by that karma. Again, we can talk about sort of the positive intention that is itself a karma, that is intentional karma, of like, say you see somebody who needs help, and the thought, oh, I want to help them. That in itself is virtuous, is positive. And then the sort of actions that you take with your speech and your body to actually alleviate that person's suffering, those are the sorts of intended karmas that arise from that particular intention. So when we look at the various places, the kind of environments, the locales in which beings inhabit, and their bodies, and all of the various possessions and things that they engage with, this happens through a process of karma. So we engage with the environment. Again, we have our various sense bases, and in dependence upon contacting various objects, forms and sounds and smells and tastes and touch and so forth, we then give rise to various feelings. We feel happiness or we feel suffering. And so it is then in dependence upon that wish to have certain things and wish to avoid other things that we then engage in various actions. We create then karmas. So it is this whole process of having intentions, having thoughts, that the mental karma that creates the variety of the world. So here, quoting from, again, when beings use those bases, when they experience happiness and suffering. So Chandrakirti's Entering the Middle Way states, mind itself creates the great variety of animate and inanimate worlds. Buddha stated that all beings arise from karma. There is no karma without the mind. So it is that kind of all of these beings, these various types of beings come from karma, from the external kind of world, as well as the living beings within it arise due to the force of karma. So it is from having a kind of good or bad intention, again, based upon that sort of fundamental grasping at ignorance. We have that when we look at the 12 links of dependent origination, this kind of ignorance that grasps at an I, and then based upon that sense of I and mine, we engage in various activities, leaving conditioning factors or karmic imprints on that particular consciousness, which in turn ripens into a future life. So when we look at the external world, the sort of great variety of animate and the inanimate world, the various environments, all these arise according to the kind of common shared karma of beings, as well as their own individual karmas. So as Chandrakirti's quote points out, it is the case that mind itself is what acts as the cause for the great variety of these worlds. The Buddha has stated that all of these beings arise from karma, and karma itself doesn't come from anywhere but mind.
ですね。
So we'll stop there for today, as we're out of time.
Oh, yeah.
May the spiritual teachers who lead me on the sacred path, and all spiritual friends who practice it, have long life. May I pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. Grant such inspiration, I pray. May the lives of the venerable spiritual mentors be stable, and their virtuous actions spread in the 10 directions. May the light of Losang's teachings dispelling the darkness of the beings in the 3 worlds always increase. Idam Guru Ratna. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Ginla, and
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you for your interpretation. And for anyone online, we're going to be making an offering to Ginla and Katrina on the Day of Miracles. That's the 7th. That's next Tuesday. So if you'd like to join in that offering, then check out the chat box. There's information there. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Kunja Jema Jayongin.
Oh, yeah. Welcome. Order. Order.